And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show, a show talking about right from wrong, a show talking about nothing but the truth, the naked truth, right, which is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. A prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family, designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, that stands for a testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelry. That brings us to the show. All right, today with me is my dear friend, my big brother, Mike Simpfenderfer. He is from Orange County. However, he was the former candidate for California Assembly, and he is a political commentator. He's a banker his whole life. And, well, I would say that we need people with some kind of capability of thinking rather than politics, right? To sit here to talk about our politics versus our day-to-day life, right? So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
Very good. As you may notice, the title of today's show is that politics doesn't help, right? Which means what to you?
It's a tough reality because these subjects fall into the political arena, and so many people just want to not deal with it. But yet so many of these issues affect our grandparents, our parents, our own children.
All right.
And so, part of the message we hope we deliver today is you may be uncomfortable going into this tough subject, but it's about your own family.
Yes.
And so, as a parent, we really don't have a choice. We need to do our job and try to understand what needs to be done, because these issues are difficult to come up with solutions.
Exactly. First, I would like to mention healthcare, right? And healthcare has been an issue forever, right? Ever since Obamacare came into place, there was a call of overthrowing it. And ever since the call of the overthrowing, nobody has heard any other plans, right? So how do you read that?
Well, and I personally have experienced what a lot of your viewers have experienced. Several years ago, I was paying about $1,100 a month out of my pocket for my health care, eye, and dental. Now I pay close to $1,500 a month.
Even more.
Yeah, and my coverage is a little bit less. And you can't keep doing that to people endlessly, because at some point people will just give up. They'll just say, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I don't play with you.
Yeah, and I almost got to that point where if they kept going up, I was gonna have to make some tough decisions. Granted, I don't drive a new car because I'd rather have good health care insurance because I have children and that, but it forced a lot of people to make decisions. Do I get good health care insurance, or do I perhaps live in a decent place, or do I live in a worse place? Do I provide really well for my children or not so? And a lot of that, we get to look back and look forward and say, that is part of the problem. We're forcing more and more people to decide.
You're right. Especially to the young folks, they don't care as much.
No.
Because when they're young, they think they can endure anything. They will last forever. Right?
Well, and part of Obamacare was we would bring large numbers of young people into the system who don't need, like you just said, but yet they would be paying something in to help defer the cost of those of us as we get older who have a lot of needs. That didn't happen. And that's why a lot of it just simply collapsed. Because you didn't have enough people paying in.
Young people do not care. Right.
Well, that, and we didn't drive the message home of you got to care.
And on the other hand, though, the older you grow, the more you care about the care.
Yeah.
Because you start to think that you need it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you do need it. And well, you need more and more and more every single passing day.
Yep.
Now, well, our problem as the regular people, right, we know nothing about politics. As a matter of fact, we hate politics.
Yes, especially now.
Yeah.
It's a highly charged environment.
You're right. And we hate politics. What we do want is that things around us that we can't afford missing because we live day in, day out with it. One of them, the most important, I would say, on top of everything is healthcare. You have a tangible, trustworthy healthcare system that covers you. Because you're the one who's been working 40, 50 years for this country, and you end up broken, you end up needing lots of care. So that's the thing.
The number one driver of bankruptcy is a catastrophic health event that occurred and they didn't have the coverage.
You're right.
And now they're forced into a Chapter 7 to liquidate whatever holdings they have because they're getting hit with hundreds of thousands of dollars for a bill. That's wrong. But yet that's what drives the bankruptcy system.
Yeah. Number one, we see there's lots of loopholes in the Obamacare system, right? And number two, we never see anything, well, good enough to replace it, right? As a matter of fact, we do not even have the faintest idea about what else they're talking about except Obamacare.
Well,
So-
because there's no competition between providers, if you ask somebody, what do you pay for this service from provider A, B, and C? Nobody knows because the providers don't tell us. We know what our deductibles are, but we have no idea that if I need a procedure, what's the cost? I know what my deductible is, but I have no idea what the cost is. And that's part of what's driving the high expense of healthcare is they aren't telling and we aren't asking. And so hopefully that's going to be part of what we leave today is we have to start asking a lot of questions. And if we just start out with prescription medicine and tell our politicians, we want to know, what does this cost? I can figure out my deductible, but we really need to start asking the question, what's the cost?
But problem is that our politicians are too busy doing anything else rather than caring about this.
Yeah.
They have lots of more important things to do than the health care.
Yeah.
Right. On the other hand, the strange thing is that even though they do not have time or the mind to do so, they keep saying that Obamacare is the one that needs to be overthrown. Well, let's overthrow it. No problem, right? Let's get a new one. Where is it?
Well, and now we're hearing the Medicare for all because it's a catchy phrase.
All right.
But yet nobody's
universal.
Yeah, and nobody's doing the other part of the discussion. Yeah, it's catchy. It makes you feel good to say we're going to start covering everybody.
Yeah, I know. You'll feel good, but where does the money come from?
That's it. And in California, they've estimated it $400 billion just for that. Our budget is a little over $200 billion. Off-budget items, they say, is about another 100. So now they're talking about bringing in the cost of a healthcare system that's more than all of the budget items for the state of California. $400 billion. How do you pay for that?
You're talking about a total of $500 billion over a $200 billion total budget.
It would actually go to 600 when you add in the full impact of Medicare for all. And because then you would have a large quantity of people who are going to pay nothing into the system.
So it's really a kind of like, it's not only a medical care issue, it is also mathematical issue.
Exactly. And as you said earlier, I'm a banker.
Yeah, you're a banker.
And you don't have to be a banker to realize $400 billion is a lot of money.
Oh yeah, sure. Even 400 is a lot of money.
Yeah, $400 is a lot of money.
Yeah, well, where do we get it?
And that's what they're not telling us. They're saying, well, we'll make the rich pay. Really? $400 billion is going to come out of the notion of make the rich pay?
How can they pay?
Well, we'll drive them out of California is what we'll do.
Who are the rich?
Yeah. And a lot of the times people, when you ask them, so like I said, who are the rich? They're actually talking about us.
Oh, we're the rich.
People who get up and go to work every day that are self-employed. That's what they're talking about. And you're like, I thought you were talking about somebody. No, they're talking about you. They're talking about me. They're talking about your viewers who get up and go every day and open up that store, that restaurant, and try to be successful. They are being called the rich that we're going to go take the $400 billion from.
Whatever problem we have, things needs to be done, right?
Yes.
We the people, need health care.
Yes.
That covers.
Yeah.
That does cover. We the people. I mean the people, right? So we deserve something of that. So I don't care, as the average people, I don't care where you guys get money. Just give me the care.
Yes.
Right?
And if you don't, I'm going to show up in your emergency room anyway.
Oh, sure, yes, exactly.
Where it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah. Does that sound like a legit call?
Well, they really need to sit people down, whether it's through Chamber of Commerce, your PTAs, your different organizations that you're a member of professionally, and start to explain this catchy phrase has this cost. They're not doing any of that. And that's where, and a lot of it is actually our fault, because we're not demanding the politicians do meetings and say, please tell us what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And where are you going to get the money?
Yeah. The other day I heard Donald Trump mention that Obamacare needs to be overthrown, right? And we need a different care system, right? Okay, he's welcome to do so, but what? We do not know what he has in mind. Nobody knows anybody what they have in mind as in terms of the health care. All right, my dear friend, my lovely audiences, we would like to, or we have to, peel the onion layer by layer to see what's inside. For the onion of the health care, though, we really have to see what's exactly down in the center of the onion. All right, so with me today is my dear friend, Mr. Mike Simpfenderfer, a former candidate for California Assembly, a banker himself, a political commentator. We try to lay everything on the table to see what's there. What can we do? All right, so let's take a break. We will be right back after this short one.
Everything expected, straight. It's like the scenes on waves.
My name is Paul James. I host English News.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the show. The show talking about right from wrong. The show talks about the truth, nothing but the truth, the naked truth, I mean. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, a royal family, Belgian royal family designated the brand of jewelry with 400 years of glorious history and hand forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, a testimony to the spectacular share of the royal glory, right? So let's get back to the show with Mike. We're talking about healthcare. On one hand, we know that costs us. On the other, we know that we, regardless of what, need the care that works. So in between, right? Number one question is that where do we get the money? So my question asking you, where do we get the money for the thing we need?
It's going to come out of us if we go to universal health care for all in California. We're going to watch our tax, which caps out at about 13%, escalate. Because right now, the tax system generates enough to pay about $300 billion of...
13% when you're talking about income tax or consumer tax?
Well, it would come out of raising the income tax. It would come out of raising taxes on goods that we would purchase, all the way down from everyday things to things that might not. But they have to start adding the numbers. When that happens, unfortunately, people are going to get paying attention. We need to pay attention now because we are clearly on a road that says we're going to get to this and we're going to be taxed?
Yes, there's two different kinds of concept, right? Concept one, to build a system on a mutual aid
Yes.
basis. Mutually, we're forming a group of 100. Everybody donates money into the basket, and there are 10 of them out of falling sick, and then the 90% will help them. And then they take your rotation. For example, if they have every 10% gets sick for 1 month though, within 12 months, and then they rotate round after round, and this thing like a mutual aid group. This is concept number one. This concept number one has proven not to be working with the years when Obamacare was taken into place, right? Okay. Now the other concept is talking about let the government do it. Where do you stand? When the government do it is that you look at Europe, right? You look at Greece, right? You look at, any other countries. Greece, for example, right? For a typical example, though, when they can do, why can't we do it?
Well, let's talk about what they do.
Yeah, sure.
On April 1st, there was a Forbes article that came out. So in England, 250,000 people are waiting 6 months or more to get care. It's 62 days from the time your physician fills out your referral till you get to see somebody. 62 days. So if you aren't doing very well, that's the average wait, 62 days.
You died already.
That could happen. 81% of the breast cancer people survive 5 years or more in England. It's 89% in the United States. So we would watch the quality deteriorate under this so-called Medicare for all because it's catchy. But when you get down to reality, it's going to end up the same way we run the DMV, the same way that we run the VA, because you're going to have a government-run healthcare system where too many people just don't care, and you won't attract good talent anymore. We have more money going from our gross domestic product into healthcare than any other country in the world. So part of the problem is that we've talked about through the election cycles, we need competition from providers to go across state lines.
That's exactly the other area we want to.
So when you say, where do I stand?
Want to get into, yes.
Yeah, what England and Australia does, no. Do we really want a system where we're going to have a tax rate somewhere between 45 and 55 cents on every dollar earned is going to go into the government?
Of course not. No.
But that's what they have. Because you got to get the money out of somewhere, so you just start taxing everybody heavily. And you say, because you're going to pay a lot of taxes, we're going to better take care of your mother and her old age better. But when you look at the numbers, and you have 250,000 people in England waiting 6 months or more, you have tens of thousands more, 9 months or more. You have low survival rates of cancer because it takes so long just to get your initial treatment.
People dying waiting.
Yes.
We
already proved that with the VA. So do we really?
Yes.
Do we really
Our
need
VA
to?
is a miniature of what's happening in England.
And in California, our DMV
DMV
is the
worst,
prime
yes.
example of what would happen.
Okay.
Now, if we had state government running efficiently, doing things well, you and I would have a different discussion today.
Okay. Obviously, we're talking about two concepts, right? Conceptually, we're talking about the group aid. We're talking government involved, right? The universal.
Yeah.
Right. Either way, you're talking about the lack of money, right? Given one condition that the cost of medical care, the attendance, the time, the hourly rate, and the medicine, the pricing of it, of the whole thing.
Nobody knows the cost of anything.
Yeah, do you think our politicians, if they would have time, if they would have the mind though, this is the whole area they want to go into?
Well, we, the people, need to force the discussion of we need to know what's our prescription medication really costing.
Oh, yes.
And demand those answers to where we could walk into a pharmacy and be able to see not what's my deductible. We need to know when am I paying for it. And we need to force open viewing, open knowledge, because that will start to drive down the cost of the care.
You are a politician yourself, in my eye, right? Because the last time when you were running your campaign, you and I, we had lots of time sit down there talking about your political ideology, right? Okay, now, I take you, in other words, as a politician already. Okay, now, when we say politicians, do you think, my question asked a while ago, that they really, this is the area they really want to go into? Because I find it so unfair. Or even though they say, that, for example, take the pharmaceutical manufacturer, for example, they say, we spent 10 years of 20 years of time in developing this
The R&D cost.
This medicine, right? Of course, we get to be paid, right? Even with that into consideration, are they getting paid proportionately, or we are being overcharged?
I don't think there's very many people would say they're not making enough money, which then leads to they're making a lot of money.
Yeah, they are complaining. They are even complaining that they are not making enough money.
Yeah, they will always do because that's their job is to complain and protect their shareholders.
I give you an example. Probably, I've mentioned one time with you that I once took a spare time job of voicing over with a certain production in Hollywood, right? Okay, it is the whole thing is a fight against the pricing of the pharmaceutical industry, in which on the script I still keep a copy of it, that for one medicine, that the cost of it is 0.3 cents, U.S. pennies, right? It sells on the market. Can you guess how much?
Oh, it's probably to as much as $100.
Yeah, be creative, be brave.
Oh, okay,
right?
then I guess I need to go into thousands.
Yeah, $163
Yeah.
per pill.
Yeah.
Per pill.
Yep.
Right. So I don't think anybody has spent any time or efforts in creating something which cost them that many times. Right. That's 1,000 to 100. That's 10 million. 1.6 million times.
Yeah.
Of their efforts.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
Yeah.
So overcharging is the key.
Yeah.
Do you think politicians needs to go in that area to find a real solution about the kind of the dead fight in between the cost of healthcare and the healthcare system itself?
Yeah, because we need to have a conversation with that industry that says either work with everybody to get costs known, defined, and drive competition, or the politicians will regulate you. That should put the fear of God into them. That's the last thing you want.
We have all kinds of laws. We have all kinds of laws. Seldom do we see something like this, a law in this area to restrict them of not overcharging.
Correct. And the way you do it the right way is you force posting of prices. Pharmacies should post the price that they charge for all of their drugs so people can see, and that would start to drive competition. Instead of now, the whole pharmacy industry is based upon convenience, and convenience.
Yes, okay.
It has very little to do with, am I a good provider at a low cost?
Yeah.
That's what's missing.
Yeah. All right. Okay, my dear friends, we are talking about healthcare. In talking about healthcare, we peel off the onion layer by layer to see what's inside. Okay, lots of people say there's a dead fight in between the two factors. Number one, we need a good care. Number two, good care needs money.
Yeah.
Right? That seems to be a dead fight, dead knot. Okay, now. However, what we have not found out is that we are talking about our discussion under a given parameter of the fixed price. In the pricing system, the bigger hole is there. We could be emancipated from the whole dead fight once we have laws that restrict them. Our politicians, why we say politics does not help, if it does, it has to go that way. Let's take a short break. We will be right back, please.
Everything expected. It's like the scenes on Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I host this news every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my loved audience. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on the East West Show, that's been exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry that has 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the number one master craftsman, a testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. That brings us back to the discussion about healthcare with my dear friend, Mr. Mike Simpfenderfer, a politician and former candidate for California Assembly. Oh, by the way, are you still running?
I'm going to help people behind the scenes.
All right, very good.
I understand demographics.
I really do wish that the people with your kind of a set of mind though would get a seat over there so that we overspin. We kind of like, anyway, need to do something in a different way. All right, back to the issue. Okay, we found out that in between quality care and the cost of quality care, it seems to be a fight, a dead fight, right? And yet we do not realize that we conduct our discussion only under a given, a fixed parameter of pricing, which is totally unfair. There is a big issue there. Should they make laws, they should do laws there to restrict them. On the other hand, there's still money elsewhere, right? Last time when I was involved in the campaign for former Commander Joe Shamas of U.S. Navy, he mentioned that all over the world, there is more than 1,000 military base of U.S., right? Well, some of them is even out, does not function as a military base. However, we're still supporting them, right? So do you think, as a politician, do you think there's another area that the money could be saved?
Exactly.
Should we have the money, we want to put the money in healthcare?
Yes, and I'm sorry if it offends our NATO allies. Time to pay up. We've been dancing this issue.
We are
The
doing
dance
the
needs to end.
solo dancing.
Yes, and we're being screwed, blued, and tattooed by our people who are supposed to be our friends. And we need to set a deadline of pay up by this date or we start closing. And I think in that area, a lot of people would agree with the administration that we need to stop being, quote, screwed by our own friends and tell them, time to pay up, or we are more than happy to pack up and you can figure it out on your own. We've given them years. Do people give you years to comply with your licensing requirements for your business? No. Do people give you years to go ahead and renew your auto tags? No. So why do they seem to think they can keep dragging this issue on for years? And we need to be blunt with NATO. Time to pay up, because we have important issues like this that we need to take care of our people.
NATO shares one thing, right? And UN shares the other, right? And of course, forget those two shares. We're talking about ourselves.
Yeah.
Our military system. Do we need that many
No,
of the
we
bases?
don't. No. And the
that
problem is
cause
too many,
us arms and legs.
and too many of them are politics, where, like you said, they were created during the Cold War. That doesn't exist anymore.
No Cold War at all.
And
Yeah.
why are we continuing to keep them open? We need to be able to be efficient, because we are, and use those efficiencies and change the cost of protecting our interests around the world. And a lot of times we got ourselves involved in different areas where people go, well, it's in our national interest. I'm like, really? It's in our national interest to do a 17, 18, 19-year war in Afghanistan? The Russians are sitting back laughing at us because they were there last time.
Yeah,
And
they
it
tried.
didn't go.
They tried. They failed. Right?
And they laughed.
It didn't work.
And they're sitting back going, well, the next round of fools, which is us,
And we went in.
are endlessly spending money. That needs to
and
change.
we are still spending.
Yeah, that needs
We're
to
still
change.
spending. All right. The other day, I interviewed my friend Joe Gardner, former police officer for Santa Monica PD. And during the past 30 years after his retirement, he's been involved philanthropically for helping people, right? And now he's moving to another project because his Meals on Wheels is one project, and his other project, which is just now newly established, is to use an abundant U.S. Air Force base at Victorville.
Yeah.
Right, use that as a center for rehab, to bring the drug addicted homeless, or even just the homeless there, for the rehab training and for job skills training. First of all, feed them.
And a safe place to sleep.
Give them clothing, a safe place to sleep, instead of having them run around on the street. Though, those are the things I see in my eye that the politics should get involved.
It
Do you
is-
agree with me?
Yeah, because see, all he's doing is thinking smart. We already built it. We
Yeah.
don't need it anymore. We have a growing need to solve the problem of people sleeping on the street. And it's not like, okay, I'm going to get you off the street and in 4 weeks everything's going to be okay.
That's a slogan.
No, it's not going to be okay. It might not even be okay in 4 months.
Yeah, you're right.
But yet we have all these bases that could provide. Yes, some of the people, it's a short-term fix. You can get them back on the right track in a couple months. But some of them don't have skills, and so you would need to spend a year or two teaching skills. They might be good at using their hands, but they don't know how to do anything because they never learned anything. So let's teach them. Let's take them into the environment where it's safe.
Plus, the building is there. We built it already.
Exactly.
The
They got a place
facility,
to sleep.
the facility is
We can
there.
cook.
Right.
We can provide.
So we can
Doctors can go there.
do something using it.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't cost extra money.
No.
To do so.
It's there. We have to take care of it. We might as well use it.
Last year, around the same time, we're talking about Orange County. They formed the campaign to tackle the homelessness along the riverbank or river trail or something, in which you're talking about some hotels give the coupons,
Vouchers, yeah.
coupons or even vouchers for short relief, right? But in the long run,
They didn't do anything.
unless you give them a hotel,
We just moved them around.
we just move them around,
Yeah.
right?
All we did was it's like the chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah. You kick the can down the road. Exactly. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And for a permanent resolution
Yes.
for these problems,
Yeah.
needs to be
Yeah.
what Joe is doing.
Well,
I'm giving this as an example. The money can be created. What Joe is doing is creating money, the needed money, right? So of course, right, by mobilizing all the hospitals, right, and all the medical provider facilities to to get money that elsewhere. I mean, to get money elsewhere that can help.
Yeah. In the last 24, 48 hours, they've come out with reports that the city is spending tens of millions of dollars to supposedly clean up the trash that's created by these tent cities that keep growing. LAPD spent $4 million in the last year protecting the sanitation workers. Are you kidding? You were protecting the sanitation workers from what? Getting robbed while they're cleaning it up? So $4 million of LAPD time. There's another report that's come out that the city of LA spent like $619 million in 2018 for 147 permanent places that they can use as transitional homing for the homeless. I'm like, wow, over $600 million for 147 permanent places.
Regardless
That's all they can
of
figure out.
Regardless of which angle you look at it, it is a huge problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem that the politics needs to get involved.
Well, and they need to allow people like that police officer running a nonprofit to get a block grant of money to go do it because A, he knows what to do, B, he's more efficient. And why should we be afraid of nonprofits that will be more efficient of getting out there and doing something about the homeless, not just rearranging them so we don't see them anymore?
Yes, especially when we see the nature of the homeless issue, we find out it is not a single issue at all.
No.
It is a mixture of everything.
That's why there's no, I'm going to take you, Jack, off the streets
Sanitation issue.
and I'll fix you in 4 weeks.
Sanitation issue, hygiene issue, social security, public safety issue, and even pandemic issue.
Yeah.
Even the drug issue.
Well,
everything.
They showed one state, and it's Arkansas of all places.
Opioid is one of the big one.
Arkansas is actually taking the homeless and paying them to clean up. What a novel idea. You know, they're in need of some money. Why aren't we hiring them for a period of time this summer to physically clean up the streets of LA? What a concept.
Because you spend money anyway.
And they would get it done more efficiently. But because it's efficient, the politicians don't like it.
You spend the money to pay the sanitation workers, and you spend money to pay the police protecting the sanitation workers.
And the sanitation workers have come back and said, there aren't enough of us because there's so much trash. There's not enough of us to go do it. So I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's have you be in charge of 4 people for the next 6 weeks to clean up this area. Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, now that you have money paying that, though, why don't we just pay like Arkansas did?
Yeah.
Well, pay them to take care of their own trash.
Yeah, and at least you're showing the taxpayers that people are thinking.
Smart thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah, smart thinking.
But do we want to do any of that? No, instead our politicians at the top are saying,
we
need more money.
They are too busy.
What?
We need more money, yeah. That's a slogan. everywhere.
We are shoveling money in large amounts.
And I remember a conversation with a friend of mine, Mr. Kurt Hageman, now county supervisor of San Bernardino. He has a famous quote, think out of the box.
Exactly.
Think out of the box.
Yeah.
All right, my dear friends, let's think out of the box. With me, thinking out of the box today is my good friend, Mr. Mike Simpfenderfer. Let's take a short moment now. When we come back, we put all the problems together. Healthcare, homeless, and even undocumented immigrants. Well, let's see if we can find our politicians some jobs. Stay with us.
Everything expected. It's like the same wrong way.
My name is Paul James. I host English News.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audience, and welcome back to the show, my dear brother, my dear fellow Americans. Watching my show is most of the time lots of pleasure, but sometimes the pain is there because we are really tackling the problems, trying to see if there is a solution behind everything, right? So with me today is my dear friend, Mr. Mike Simpfenderfer, in supporting this show, which is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry that stands for 400 years of glorious history, hand-forged with 10 generations of the master craftsman, a testimony to the spectacular and a share of the royal glory, right? So it is a show that worth everybody's efforts to help build. Now, talking about problem after problem after problem, I find out that what we see, what our politicians are doing, they are aiming at different directions, totally different directions. That's why at the end of the last segment, I said, we want to see if we can find jobs for our politicians. So in terms of the jobs for politicians, do you have a take? I believe you do.
Well,
you have a strong take.
Let's talk about the one nobody likes to talk about.
Okay.
Immigration.
Immigration, yes.
You know, we had California National Guard on the border. And then Governor Newsom came in and said, I don't like it. He politicized it. He said he agreed with having the Guard on the border to help stop drugs and human trafficking. So the point is, okay, everybody agrees if we could do something to stop and slow, we should have the Guard doing there. So why aren't we deploying them on the part we agree? Let's stop the drugs and the human trafficking. Everybody agrees that, left, right, middle, wherever you are. And let's get them deployed because it's pouring over. It's not rocket science. All you have to do is go down there. I lived on the border for 2 years in the early 90s. And so understand from having lived and worked there, yes, it is pouring over. But yet, I want to go back to the governor and say, you agreed on doing it for these two issues. So why can't we work on that? Because that is something everybody agrees on. And deploy the Guard to back up the federal law enforcement agencies that are dealing with drugs and human trafficking. No, he just pulled them all off. Let's just make it easier for that to happen. That I disagree with.
Could it be the fact that he's thinking about letting the federal get involved?
Well, the federal,
so let the state back up and the federal gets in.
They need help.
The federal is anxious to get involved anyway.
It has been over and over and over. They are so overwhelmed at the border. They need help. They being the federal agencies that we pay to control the border from human trafficking and drugs. So I have to look at the government. Why aren't you willing to go help stop that? Or would you seem to want to turn a blind eye and say, it's more convenient for me to be political than it is for me to take care of the citizens of California? Taking care of us would say, okay, the immigration part is too difficult. Let's at least do the stuff we all agree on, the drugs and human trafficking.
People used to think that the border problem is only a problem
on the border,
that a newly merged on the border only. As a matter of fact, it's not a problem on the border only. So you have any take on that?
Well, we're starting to see and understand that, meaning the general public and people are going about their everyday lives. Because they're seeing how more and more people are coming in because you're supposed to come in through a port of entry. And a lot of people did. I did. I know what immigration is. I know what it's like to go downtown LA. And for 2 years, drove a truck with 250,000 miles on it because I decided to pay the attorney and pay the fees and do it right instead of cheat. And a lot of people now have become, well, you know what, I'm just going to cheat the system because the system doesn't hold me accountable. But yet, to those who play by the rules, we're insulting all of them. So, we need to get to one set of rules, and that's what the politicians can't seem to figure out. My catchy phrase is, stop paying Congress until Congress solves some of our problems. Yeah. If you can't get them to understand through their ears, get them to understand they're going to do their job through their pocketbooks. A lot of them are very rich, they wouldn't care, but at least you would force them to come up with comprehensive solution. We've got, 12 million or so that we don't know what to do with?
Exactly.
We're going to have to figure it out.
So what I was trying to say is that lots of people think about this border problem as a problem that's only emerged recently and gets worsened recently. As a matter of fact, I heard from officers working as a border patrol officer, and the people who visited the border areas came back telling me that's a day-to-day norm. That's a mess every hour, every single day, every minute. It's a mess there.
Yeah,
Right.
and part of it's created, and I'm going to criticize my own Republican presidents. Republican and Democrat presidents refused to take on the tough issue and refused to demand Congress do something. So we just kick it down the road. We talk about it for election season. Kick it down the road, talk about it for election season. And we don't do anything.
Let me tell you one thing. Of course, at the end of which you tell me, you correct me if I'm wrong, if I am wrong, right? They say that Democrats are proactive with the immigration, immigration reform, right? But if you look back during the 8 years of Obama time, nothing was actually done.
But yet, what people don't want to talk about, he actually deported large numbers of people.
But I'm talking about the actual reform.
Yeah, there was no reform at all. There was nothing done about the people here. There was nothing done about, you know what, some of you are actually eligible to be citizens and ask, why aren't you? Well, the reason why, it's expensive. So we need to go to our business leaders and go, why aren't you partnering up with the law schools, the lawyers, and start raising money and help people become a citizen? Is that the answer? No. But it might take a small number of people who could become citizens, and let's help them become citizens. That's a real world solution, but nobody wants to have that discussion.
And of course, this is a problem that has two faces, right? Border problem at the border line or border zone is one problem. And the already inside, the 12 million people
Yes.
altogether, in my eye, they are altogether one problem. They're one problem that calls for immigration reform,
Yes.
which, according to Obama, was the theme or main focus for Democrats, which, but in my eye, for the past 8 years, for the 80 years where he was in power, nothing would be done.
Correct.
Right now, Donald Trump, during the Donald Trump time, Donald Trump since day one swear to overthrow the Obamacare, but almost 4 years now he has done nothing of that, right? So now it looks to me as a conclusion, whatever they say is nothing, right?
There's a lot of that, yes.
They just use that as a talk, as a key to get to something, right? As to the issue itself, they would rather let it remain there. So now let me ask you, am I right or wrong?
No, you're spot on. You know, we've gotten to the point where too many people actually really don't want to solve immigration because they make too much money or too much political advantage keeping the problem there.
You're right.
And the people who pay, those of us that go to work every day, because they keep taking more and more money, trying to shove it at the problem, going, the problem has to have a fix.
Suppose
not just the
I'm
finance.
suppose I'm a thief, right? The benefit I contribute is that I keep the cops busy. Otherwise, the cops are out of other jobs. Politicians, the same thing.
Yes.
The issue remains, the remaining of the issue keep the politics busy. So politics like them to remain there.
Correct.
So rather than having them resolved.
Yeah. If you actually did something about the border and required everybody to come through a port of entry, even if you are caught inside the U.S., you're physically taken and say, you know what, our laws are such that you have to go through a port of entry so we can decide what to do. Well, then what would the politicians have to complain about?
Yeah.
But we don't want to fix the problem.
Yeah. Right.
Some people want to fix it. I believe we need to fix it.
Anyway, as a conclusion, we think differently from what the politics think, right? Even though they say every single day to resolve the problem, they rather want the problem to remain there that keep them busy.
Exactly.
Like I said, a thief keeps a cop busy.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we see what we see 10 years ago. We see what we see 5 years ago. We see what we see last year.
Yep.
All right.
No.
All right, my dear friend, we're a little over time, but with Mike, we spent some happy moment because we really dug out from the very, very core of the coin, of the onion, to find out, or a coin, the other side though, to find out what's in the core by peeling off the layers after layers. With Mike Simpfenderfer, my dear friend, former candidate for California Assembly. When asked, are you still running? He said he is, but helping other politicians run, all right? I really wish those strong-minded people get some offices over there, and so that we have a better system. Okay, my dear friends, thank you for watching, and thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy
All
it.
right, good. Thank you for watching this East-West show, exclusively sponsored by Wolfers.